Hello and welcome to the Nintendo Pipeline Podcast. I'm your host, Jared, also known as One Up Muffin on the Discord. And with me today is...
Hello, I'm CMM. You can call me Clay.
And lastly, with a special announcement...
Oh, God.
James here, and I've got a bone to pick with Clay. Because the other day, I'm just, doing what you do, doom scrolling on Twitter, like one does, reading about all of the terrible things happening in this world, looking for just a nugget of, bright, shining light, just some happiness. When I come across a tweet from Clay that says, I also only eat cereal dry because milk with cereal is gross, colon parenthesis, as though that's worth a smiley face.
That's a joke,
I
right?
need you to explain yourself, my friend.
It gets mushy and gross, and I'm a weird guy with texture in food. That's pretty much it.
Eat it faster.
No, I don't. I don't.
Get heartier cereal.
No, I will drink milk separately, and I will eat cereal separately, but not together.
Do you eat it out of the box and then take a drink of milk?
I mean, I could, but I don't usually.
What are we talking about? Is this all cereal? Is it from Fruity Pebbles to Raisin Bran?
All cereal.
Good
all
lord,
cereal.
Dude!
All cereal.
Holy
shit!
So
we have these containers, right? There's this company, I forget, but I think they're called Nani's biscottis. They're biscotti containers. They're very tall and they have a screw-on cap. So whenever we get cereal, we actually put the cereal in that because it doesn't get stale. It's just it's more convenient to have it in that.
Sure.
So I'll have the tub of frickin' Fruit Loops or whatever it is.
Okay.
And eat it out of that. That's
great. You're a monster.
You're a monster.
So the only thing more vile than this is the person that I when I used to work in a grocery store, I would go in the break room sometimes and have lunch, and a dude in there would eat Cheerios with water.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
He would pour water
worse.
in a bowl full of Cheerios,
Yeah,
I think that's worse.
It is.
I know there's some people who eat cereal with a bowl of orange juice, which I found very weird. Orange juice,
that's worse.
I would not do that.
Yeah, that's worse than water even.
Oh God.
I don't think it's worse than water, but it's.
I think it's worse than water.
I don't even know how to process that, honestly.
That's too much flavor.
That sounds like some psycho shit to me. To be honest.
Like water, you're just making everything soggy, but orange juice, you're making Cocoa Puffs taste orangey.
Okay, I imagine they're not eating Cocoa Puffs. I was extending some charitability here and assuming that they might be eating Fruit Loops or something.
Okay.
But now you've got me in this mode, and I'm like, God damn, a bowl full of Sugar Smacks just filled up. Pulp free or no pulp, or pulp with high pulp, rather.
I mean, I don't know about them. I just know that I hate orange juice with pulp in it.
I love pulp.
Pulp grosses me out.
I don't mind pulp.
I'm a big fan of pulp. I'll choke that shit down.
You can kind of tell where I am. Texture stuff and stuff being soggy or not soggy is very weird for me.
I'm thinking of cereal with just a bunch of Coca-Cola in it now.
Oh God. Oh. I'll take my milk, no pulp. No pulp in the milk.
Oh my God.
No udders. No udders.
Chunky milk.
What would be the worst liquid to pour over cereal? What do you think it is?
I feel like water is one of them.
Water's up there, but I feel like we could get worse.
I mean,
I think Red Mountain Dew is probably worse.
Red Bull.
Yeah, I feel like Red Bull.
Oh, dude. Oh man.
That's a good way to start your day, though. You're gonna be awake.
Big bowl of Reese's Puffs. Just.
What if you eat your cereal, but do it by putting it in a smoothie? I feel like that's horrible.
I don't know.
Smoothifying anything is usually bad.
No, it depends. I mean, I feel like what would the liquid be if you put milk and Reese's Puffs together? That might end up okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I ate those dry too.
I definitely think soda is probably the worst thing you put in your cereal.
Yeah. Or you could put frickin' what do you call it? Put your cereal and beer, that would be pretty
Oh,
awful.
That'll be
Jesus.
terrible, yeah.
But there's definitely, like, fast food restaurants will serve milkshakes with cereal in it, and that's kind of blending it with cereal.
Yeah.
And those range anywhere from edible to, like, so sweet I feel like I'm going to be sick. But, you know, thank you for accommodating my derail here. I think we're here to talk about video games and not cereal.
Not about how I eat Cookie Crisp dry.
No,
Jesus.
we need to. The audiences are clamoring for more banter at the beginning of episodes. So
Oh yeah, they love it when we talk about cereal experiments. Who
We
wants
got
to
our
talk about
banter
anime?
quota. No.
We hit our quota.
Watch
Yeah, we
Cereal
lost.
Experiments Lane. It's good.
What are we actually here to talk about?
We are here to talk about the Yacht Club Games, whatever they called it, announcement thing.
Well, I guess I gotta go because I don't know yacht. I don't got that kind of money, man.
The Rowboat Club.
Yachts are a little too bougie.
James is more of a canoe guy.
No, I'm more of a raft built out of sticks and sadness.
Oh, so Desert Island Survival and Animal
Hell yeah,
Crossing
dude.
Amiibo Festival.
Oh, wow.
Let's
Rest
go.
in peace.
Oh man,
Bring it back.
I remember when I paid $60 for Amiibo Festival to get a small plastic figurine of Isabel.
Yeah, and she sucks.
I'm looking at her right now, and she does not suck. Actually,
I don't
Oh,
like
she-
Isabel very like. I think Isabel's okay, but who I really don't like, and you're gonna be mad at me for this. I don't like Digby.
You're a loser, bitch.
Yeah,
You're
I like
kicked off of
Isabel
this
a lot
podcast.
more than Digby.
you
You're
just
kicked
got
off
called a
this
loser,
podcast.
bitch, on your own podcast, dude.
Digby is who we protect.
No,
Isabel.
Digby sucks. I don't like him.
Isabel gets fed to the wolves. Digby is our boy.
I'm fine with Digby, but Isabel is. I'm a big fan. She's a good dog.
Ugh.
All right,
So anyway,
Well,
video games. I
Yacht
didn't
Club-
finish Shovel Knight.
I'd eat her dry.
stop it.
Wait a minute. Woo.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah,
So the
let's-
Yacht Club Games New Game
Presents.
Spectacular happened.
It did happen.
Yeah. Does anyone
Yeah.
know the real name of it?
Yacht Club Games presents.
Okay.
Yeah, they
I
did. They
think-
put it on G4 during an episode of X Play, which that was news to me that shit was all bad.
Yeah, which we can talk about after the announcement of their X Play episode. But let's go through the announcements really quickly. Some of them are better than others. It started out with Pocket Dungeon DLC, some
Yes.
free content for that, which I think I'm the only one who played here, but that game is fantastic. If you like puzzle games, grab that.
I played it at PAX. I want it as well. I haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah, it's really fun. I probably got like 15 hours out of it. Beat it a few
like-
times.
So they announced the free update is cool because it has some like accessibility options and stuff. But the main thing in that free update was the random night,
Yeah.
which I like. I like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You pick a character and it changes to a random character every stage or whatever.
Does it change every stage or just every run? Every stage
think
would be
it's-
cool.
I think it's like every match it will change.
Oh, okay, that's
to
cool.
when
That's
you're on
more
launch
interesting than I thought it
characters.
was.
I could be wrong.
That's
but I
some
believe that is
WarioWare
what it
get
is.
it together shit.
Yeah,
And then-
yeah, exactly.
There's going to be three DLC content packs, and they haven't
Yep.
said anything about those yet.
Are they all going to
Except-
be free? Did they
I
say?
don't think so.
No. I believe they
think this is the
specifically
free.
said they were paid
And how much is Pocket Dungeon base?
Like,
20.
yeah, it's a really fair price for the amount you get.
Okay, that's cool.
And they did mention though that part of that DLC, the paid DLC, is the online versus, which is cool,
Yes,
because it
that's-
was local.
I wonder
only.
if they would charge for that, because like if you charge
they
for
would.
an multiplayer thing, that like lowers your player base so much.
Well, I know at the very least that they mentioned it with the paid stuff, and in their blog post, it is associated with the paid DLC. So I believe
Okay.
it is part of that package. Yeah.
That's a questionable decision.
Yeah, I don't love that choice
Yeah.
because paid
Yeah.
multiplayer DLC means not many people are going to play it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
mean, the-
people. I feel like companies learn that lesson. Like, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
it's a small indie company, but like,
Yeah.
they
I
don't
guess
charge. Big companies don't charge for map packs anymore. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't say
Shooters.
that the DLC was multiplayer specific, just that the Vault versus multiplayer mode was part of the
Yeah.
DLC.
Maybe
The main
maybe
part of
they'll
the
change that
DLC
later.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be like time to arrive with the DLC,
Yeah.
but they mostly were saying like new relics, new characters, new stuff for the actual contents of the paid DLC. So
That'd be cool. And there's a good amount of characters even in the base game. It's like 10 levels, a few secret ones, and
Yeah.
like 10 or so characters.
I like that game because it's very like it's a roguelite mixed with a puzzle game, and it's kind of like Wario's Woods because you're on the battlefield as a character. That's what I always think of, even though it doesn't play like Wario's Woods.
Yeah, when I saw people compare it to Wario's Woods, I was like, do not get the wrong idea. It does not. It is not like that game.
It's not like Wario's Woods at all.
Because you're moving in all directions, unlike Wario's Woods, where you're just left and right.
Yeah. It's a very cool game, though. Definitely would recommend people check it out. I'm hoping to grab the full version soon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that was really good that they teased the updates for that. Next thing was Cyber
Shadow.
Yes.
And sadly, all they did was announce a sale for it,
Yeah,
which is
it
cool.
was not very exciting.
Yeah, it's nice. This is a game I played at PAX. I really, really liked it. Been holding out for a retail copy, so I was kind of hoping that if they said something about Cyber Shadow today, it would be like DLC and a retail copy. But getting in on a sale is fine too. I'm not going to complain about it being on sale.
Yeah, I just wonder if they didn't sell enough to justify retail, because like they did retail for Shovel Knight and they were doing retail for the next thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
But I do wonder if it just didn't sell quite well enough.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering how it performed. It's another game that is regularly $20, and I think based on what I'm aware of in the game and based on what I played at PAX, that game is so goddamn fun, and I really want to play the full version.
Yeah, I actually forgot I played the first few levels of this on Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass, and I thought it was pretty fun.
And that's the Ninja Gaiden, like, that they published but didn't develop.
Yeah,
kind of. So
it is very Ninja Gaiden.
It was by an independent developer, and they kind of like worked together to kind of finish the development of it. So it was a lot more code developed than I think most people realize.
I didn't realize that.
But it's still like, it's mostly the brainchild of the original creator. But yeah,
whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce because I will butcher it.
I don't even know his name.
I'm not even going to try. I'll just.
I know I knew it at one point.
Oh, that's cool. I should play that game at some point.
So nothing really
cool.
So nothing really new for that, but hey, there's a sale if you're listening to this in the beginning of February. If you're listening to it later, then whatever, it'll go on sale again. And the next thing is the big thing, the reason everyone's here. It's not.
There's one more thing. You forgot.
Let me scroll down my list.
Didn't they do an update on Dig or whatever?
Oh, yes. We missed the Dig thing. That was actually second, wasn't it?
I think it was like right before they went into the Dig thing.
Yeah, so Shovel Knight Dig is pretty far into production. That's the roguelike by Nitrome, which used to make Flash games that were really fun.
They also made Bomb Chicken.
Yeah. Not to be confused with Wiggle Chicken.
You mean Chicken Wiggle?
I don't care.
Yeah,
one of those.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm extremely confused now, so that did not work, what you just did.
Shovel Knight Dig I tried out at PAX 2020 when they had it playable. It feels a bit different than you might imagine it does. But essentially what happens is you go through... Each area is randomly generated, although it does have, each area has, elements unique to that area, enemies or types of things that you're digging through or whatever. And once you get, I believe, I can't remember if you have to go through 3 or 5 stages, you get to a boss battle with, one of the new knights. One of the ones I talked about today was a knight that's included in Pocket Dungeon, and then the other one is another new character entirely. But so if you've played regular Shovel Knight, when you jump in Shovel Knight and hold down, you do the down stab like in Zelda 2. In Dig, the game is very much built around the down stab. However, you do not need to do anything besides jump to make him do the down stab.
Oh, so it's not optional.
No. So he will, when you jump, if you're standing on a diggable, surface and you jump and land on it again, the downward stab happens and you go through a layer of it, and then you keep pushing, the shovel button to keep digging, and you hold a direction to, choose where you're digging. And it was a little bit weird because I was expecting to need to initiate the dig and not just jump. So I would miscount and miscalculate like how far I wanted to go, because I'd be counting and like essentially I'd be like, oh, 1, 2, 3, but I was actually at 4 because the first dig kind of happens automatically.
So you have to like math to enjoy this game.
I mean, you don't have to math. That's how my brain was processing it. It is
hate
very
math.
fun though. It is very fun, and it's tough from what I played.
Peeping a trailer of it, because it's been a little while since. First of all, I can't believe this was announced in 2019.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time is a fucking mystery, dude.
Yeah.
But second of all, watching it, it looks kind of like sort of a riff on Downwell. A little bit.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
like Downwell Night is the joke I put in the chat earlier.
It'll
very,
be
very funny. Everybody laughed at it. I got like 50 stars.
Yeah,
you missed
yeah.
it. You probably missed
I
it.
remember that. Yeah, I saw all 50 of those light
Yeah,
up.
I definitely didn't get ratioed.
Plus L, yeah. It's interesting because it is Nitrome. I believe it's another co-development thing. I don't think we really know how much Yacht Club has actually like done hands-on with the game, but it is Nitrome. Nitrome does pretty good stuff, and they make beautiful looking games. It's a very 16-bit aesthetic.
It is very pretty pixel art.
Yeah, I love devs that evolved from Flash games. Like that just fills my heart with joy seeing people like Nitrome and Behemoth like making big games.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that it's been a little bit smoothed out since, not that it was bad, but like it was took a little getting used to. But in either case, I liked what I played, and I definitely want more of it. And I think it's kind of it's definitely a different take on Shovel Knight gameplay while still feeling like it belongs. And you still have I believe you still have like the relics and stuff like that you would see in regular Shovel Knight. But it's tough.
It looks really fun, and they didn't give a date, but they said it's nearing completion.
Yeah.
So
I'm
maybe
hoping
that means late this year. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping this means this year because it got delayed out of 2021. So
3 years is a
crossed.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they said Pocket Dungeon also took 3 years. So
Pocket Dungeon did get delayed, and because Pocket Dungeon was also at that same PAX that I went to, and it was slated for 2020, and then pandemic and everything happened, so it ended up like barely making it into 2021. Mm-hmm. So
if they're making these games good, like take the time, because Pocket Dungeon was awesome, Shovel Knight's awesome, so hopefully Dig will live up to the Shovel Knight caliber.
If they can afford to pay these developers or whatever to take their time, then absolutely take your time. Mm-hmm. I was just kind of shocked because I might have gotten my... Wait, you said that Pocket Dungeon was at the same PAX? When was Pocket Dungeon announced? Is that also like a...
I think it might have been announced near the same time.
It was announced at least sometime either at or slightly before PAX 2020.
February 26, 2020. So Dig was announced in August of 2019, and Pocket Dungeon was announced in February of 2020. Man, February of 2020, that was right before everything went to total hell.
Yeah, and February 2020 was when PAX happened, so they just had it there. And it was really cool to be able to just walk on and be like, oh, hey, cool, new Shovel Knight game, let's try it.
Man, that must have been the last time you left the house.
Pretty much, actually. Actually. Their booth was gorgeous, too. They always have really pretty booths. I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but, they're very sweet people. I've talked to them a few times at different shows, and they're always really happy to talk to people and see what they think. And people will come up to them and are like, hey, I backed you guys on Shovel Knight, and they're super super kind and thankful and sweet and
genuine.
Just very cool people.
So before we oops, sorry.
No, that was it.
Before we get into the final announcement, should we maybe talk about our feelings about Shovel Knight in general?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I haven't actually. I've purchased Shovel Knight twice, once on the Wii U, once on the Switch, and I finished it neither times. But that's not necessarily because I don't think it's good. It's like you play something like that, and it's a game that you can kind of like. You're like, oh yeah, I can pick this up in between big releases, and
Right.
beat a few levels, put it down, play something else when it comes out. That's generally what happened. I bought it like right after the Switch came out, like right after I beat Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And then Mario Kart 8 came out, and I became an addict, And then
Right.
Split Arms comes out, and Splatoon comes out, and then the year's over, and you're like, what did I do? But I really appreciate Shovel Knight's like approach to retro game design, because they take the things from retro games that, and not like retro studios, but like old video games, like 8-bit video games that work,
Right.
and then they make a game that's kind of like the idealized version of the NES game in your head.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is how it felt playing this game as a child, like playing Castlevania or playing one of the old Mega Mans. And it without the like the culture shock of going back to one of those games and being like, oh, this kind of looks like a disaster.
Yeah.
And the
It's a lot
controls
less-
aren't quite as tight as I'd like them to be.
Oh, I thought they were. I
No.
like the controls.
No, I like the controls
Oh.
in Shovel Knight. I'm
You
talking
meant
about
the old
going
games.
back
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the
yeah.
old games. When you go back to an old game and you're just like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of like adapting you have to do to play those older games again 20, 30 years out. And Shovel Knight just like, it feels modern, but it looks old, and it
Yeah.
plays like a really like cohesive mold of those two things, and I really appreciate that. And it's like it looks like an 8-bit game, but it uses a color palette that the NES couldn't use,
Right. But still looks authentic.
Yeah,
to
it
it.
manages to look authentic while not being authentic at all
Right.
in any way. It's
Right.
very impressive.
Yeah.
They captured
Yeah.
the like essence of what made those games cool and why you like those games to this day still.
Yeah.
And I will go back and finish it. To be honest, I was actually thinking to myself, man, I should finish that before their new thing comes out. And then I looked at the promised delivery date on Kickstarter, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
cool, they gave me plenty of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Shovel Knight has the distinction, I think, of being the first thing on Kickstarter that I ever backed. I don't back stuff on Kickstarter very often.
You didn't make a mighty number mistake?
I did not do that, and I did not make a ukulele-sized mistake either.
Damn, dude.
But I was very sold mostly on the team's talent, because a lot of them herald from Way Forward. And I thought they presented a pretty solid pitch of what they were going for, and they had enough like done to actually like show something. You know what I mean? It was, and I will never regret doing that, because that Kickstarter paid freaking dividends
For years.
because as many people probably know, there was the Shovel Knight Shovel Knight game. And then over the years, they've added multiple additional campaigns based on some of the bosses in that game. So there's the one for Spectre Knight, there's the one for Plague Knight, and then the last one was King Knight. And these were initially stretch goals, and really what they were was essentially kind of like Mega Man Powered Up, where like, you could play as the bosses in the main game, and there's some like mild dialogue changes, but you have different abilities because you're the boss, and that's kind of all they really actually promised, in terms of that stuff. And and then there was other stuff like challenge mode, gender swap mode, and a battle mode, right?
Yeah.
And then what they ended up doing was instead
Ambition
of
got
just
the better of them.
yeah, so instead of just having a character and making it playable in Shovel Knight's campaign, they were like, well, we're just going to make a new campaign for each of these characters, and so it obviously took much longer to complete. But all of it was, if you bought the game, if you were a Kickstarter backer, you got all of it for free. They never charged for it. Now, obviously, if you did not back it, or if you did not buy the game initially, at one point they were like, all right. And that's when Treasure Trove became a thing where, you can buy the whole set, you could buy a single campaign, you can kind of do whatever you want with it.
Now I don't
But
think you can buy individual ones now.
you can.
Oh, you
Yeah.
can?
Yeah, you can buy, like, if you just want, like, when they launched on Switch, you could just buy the Spectre Knight campaign. That was, like, when they started that that whole thing. So a lot of people who owned it on other platforms
Just
or
got
maybe,
that.
just
That makes
wanted to
sense.
play, Spectre on Switch, bought it there. And, everything expanded, right? So, like, even the gender swap mode kind of expanded. They did, like, alternate, like, looks for, like, every character. The battle mode ended up becoming a fighting game with like a single player component and like all kinds of stuff. The challenge modes, they added challenge mode for Shovel Knight, but then they added challenge mode for every expansion as well. And that's not including the special battles that they added for the other platforms like Battletoads and Kratos. And the Amiibo content, which is actually very significant and, has a little bit to do about what we're going to get into. But basically, that game is an absolute joy, and that is like a Kickstarter that you can just point at and be like, this is how you do, this is how you do this, even if they just provided what they initially promised. It would be fantastic, but they really, really, really went the extra mile.
Well, this is how you do this if you get so funded that, like, you don't, that you're, like, out of control. There have been plenty of Kickstarters that have just, like, met their funding goal, released their game, and people are fine. But there have also been plenty of Kickstarters that get, like, above and beyond their funding goals, and they turn out like Mighty Number 9 did.
Mm-hmm. They're not built or planned around, the extreme amount of success that they're seeing. So they feel the need to add in all these different things and maybe don't think enough about how it impacts the scope of the actual game. And I think what helped with Shovel Knight is that the stuff that they added was all modular. Like, it didn't, the base game was funded, and obviously they probably had more money to work with the base game and probably were able to do a little bit more with base Shovel Knight than they had planned to. But that the stretch goals were all like separate modes and separate things, I think helped a lot with it not like destroying, the core game itself.
And Shovel Knight's turnaround was pretty good, wasn't it? Like, as far as like when they launched the Kickstarter versus when the game came out.
Yeah, I don't fully remember, but it wasn't like some like obscene amount of time. Like, it was a reasonable amount of time. They were pretty good at updating people and keeping everyone,
Yeah, it does look like they missed their initial.
Yeah,
Their initial
delayed.
date was September 2013, and I think it came out summer of 2014. Like, that's not that bad of a delay.
Yeah.
As far as Kickstarters go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was very, I think it was pretty well communicated as well.
And
funding's-
Clay, did you finish all of the DLCs for that too?
God, no, I did not. I played through Shovel Knight, which is now Sword of Hope, I believe it's called now. And then I played through Plague Knight's campaign, which I always forget the name of. That is the guy who like has the alchemy bombs.
I love Plague Knight. I haven't played his campaign, but I love that little guy.
Yeah,
he's a perfect little sprite guy. I love him to death.
That campaign is probably the one that's closest to the original Shovel Knight.
That's the most like just slightly remixed levels.
Yeah, that one's the one that's like the least different. And then like for Spectre Knight, which I started, that one's entirely different. And then King Knight is like its own separate beast. So yeah. I finished the first two campaigns. I did some of the challenge mode stuff. I played a bit of Plague Knight and didn't get around to finishing it, and I have not started King Knight, but I did play the King Knight campaign for 2 PAXs in a row.
Yeah.
And that game, and how he controls is so neat, and all of them are so distinct. Like they're absolutely fantastic. I also tried Showdown at PAX. I haven't actually tried the retail version of Showdown yet, but yeah, I mean it's so much. Like they even made like a card game for King Knight. It's completely optional, but like it's a full ass card game, like just in there because
Yeah,
like
because they wanted to.
yeah.
So just as a quick addendum, the Kickstarter for Shovel Knight started in March 2013, and they released the game in like June 2014. So that's a real quick turnaround for a Kickstarter.
That's really not that bad, yeah.
And they only asked for $75,000 on that one. So for them to have such a small asking price, and for them to have originally thought it would be out in September of 2013, my guess is that game was mostly done. Or they thought it was mostly done, and then they spent that last year just kind of swimming in the $300,000 that they made, and being like, ooh.
Yeah, at the least, they obviously had an idea for the scope and what they wanted, and the goal that they needed to realistically reach that scope, and then obviously that total got blown out of the water, and I'm sure stuff changed on some level.
Hey, good for them, man.
Yeah.
But not in a way that compromised the game, which I think is very important. So that takes us to the next thing, yeah?
No, it does not take us to the next thing.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to share my thoughts on Shovel Knight.
Oh, sorry. I'm like, oh.
James, let's talk about Shovel Knight.
I did.
And then Clay gives us like a 20-minute story.
Jared I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Jared doesn't get to talk about Shovel Knight, sorry.
Well, if we just talk about what they showed in this thing, this podcast would be like 10 minutes long, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I played all of the original Shovel Knight campaign. Really enjoyed that. Like what James was saying, it takes the old style games but makes them way less frustrating. Like when I first heard this game was like Mega Man, I was like, oh, I hate the old Mega Man. I'm gonna not like this.
Wow, but again, I have to call Muffin
old Mega
bitch.
Mans are... I hate them. I think they feel bad. I think Mega Man is stupid.
The NES? All of them, or just one?
The NES ones.
Wait, no. All the NES ones, or just the first one?
They just kind of blend together for me. They're not bad. Like, they're better now, but
this is my podcast now, boy.
So now he's dialing it back. He's trying to change what he just said.
Mega Man 2 is a fucking masterpiece.
They're fine, but I like Shovel Knight a lot more.
I mean, that's fine.
I mean, I think Castlevania 1's a masterpiece too, but that does.
I do too.
It gets real annoying when you get knocked back.
Yeah, I like Castlevania 1 a lot more than Mega Man, also. But not important for this. So I did the whole Shovel Knight campaign. Thought that was great, especially like in a time when those kind of 2D indie games, like 8-bit style games, felt we were kind of drowning in them. That one felt refreshing still.
It had a level of quality and a level of production quality, I think, that some of the others at the time did not necessarily have.
Well, it also had a level of genuine love. There was like not an ounce of cynicism.
Yeah, it wasn't like snarky or like twee.
It wasn't. It also felt authentic, like we were talking about earlier, because some of the games at the time was like, oh, this is an 8-bit aesthetic or whatever, but it wasn't really like, an actual NES or Game Boy aesthetic. It was just kind of like cute pixel art aesthetic that didn't really have much identity and was kind of just like whatever, This game is so baked in the history of gaming.
Yeah, I used to call those like humble indie, like garbage fodder games that they would just like shove like a million 2D 8-bit platformers into like humble bundles for a while. Yeah. Be like, great, another one of these. What's the little boring gimmick this time?
It also had that music, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like that's important. That's the thing a lot of people miss. Jake Kaufman can compose a fucking song, dude.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, people know him they're probably more aware of him because of Shantae, and he does great work for Shantae as well, but he did fantastic work for this game.
I haven't played any of those either.
Yeah.
They're solid games. It kind of depends. That's another topic entirely.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into my way.
We won't broach that. We won't broach that.
Yeah.
Did you just call
and then I
Shantae
played
a way forward thought?
what?
Never mind, it's a bad joke. Someone heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I played a lot of King Knight was the one I mostly played, and that was great. But now, so we've discussed 3 Shovel Knight games today. So what's next for the hit Shovel Knight franchise? Is it a 16-bit Shovel Knight? Is it Shovel Knight 64?
Well, no,
Is
I
it
think
just straight up Shovel Knight 2?
they're breaking new ground, so to speak.
God.
I'm
We're-
actually more excited about this game than I ever was about Shovel Knight.
I think this one looks really cool. So yeah, they surprised everyone by not making a Shovel Knight successor, and instead, it is a Game Boy Color inspired top-down action RPG about a mouse.
Very specifically riffing on Link's Awakening and the
Yeah.
two Oracle games. The two
Yeah,
Oracle of Ages
it looks
and
so
Oracle of
much like
Seasons.
Link's Awakening.
And it's got a bit of the Castlevania touch in it too, in terms of its
Some weapons.
some of the weapons and the world.
And the
You got, like,
aesthetic, yeah.
The whip and the axe.
Yeah, we haven't said the name yet. It's Mina the Hollower.
Yeah.
What is
It's
a
not-
hollower?
They actually explained what a hollower is in the presentation. I forget exactly what it is.
I think
but-
I think I might have missed that part because
I found it. The Hollowers are a guild dedicated to studying the Earth and its latent resources. By using their special technique, hollowing, they can move faster underground than above it. Hollowers have worked for ages to analyze and amplify secrets buried beneath the surface. Mina's spark technology is her latest contribution to the hollowing arts.
these dudes just
Note
can't
that
get
there
away
are-
from underground shit like digging.
Note that there are many methods to becoming a hollower and many applications for the skill, but not all hollowers agree on how to best utilize their skills. That's the
Wow.
bit.
Deep.
But yes.
The digging looked cool, like going
Yeah,
underground
yeah.
and coming up from under enemies to attack them.
It's like you always have Rock's Feather from
Yes.
Link's Awakening, plus like it's got some digging like Mole Mania.
Yeah.
One of the greatest Game Boy games of all time.
Giving Rock's Feather as a permanent move and not something that you have to like find.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's going to make exploring that overworld a lot of fun.
Yeah,
They-
it's exciting.
Like there's I imagine it's going to be pretty open. Like the Link's Awakening and Oracle games are pretty heavily gated by what items you have, and you get Rock's Feather pretty early in Link's Awakening, but still.
So
They said it'll be a pretty open game. They said
Yeah,
there's
they-
definitely going to be some areas gated off, but it's going to be relatively open.
Yeah, they talked about how like Muffin said that there are some gated areas and there are some linear challenges, but that it's relatively open, and something that they really wanted to do was have a game that has the jumping in a top-down style at the core of the game itself, as opposed to again, like Link's Awakening has like Rock's Feather and stuff, and you can do that in that game, but it's not like one of the core actions.
Yeah, they don't expect you
do.
to have it on at all times.
Yeah, and
You're not
so
going to be expected to jump over a random enemy's attack.
yeah, and so since you have that, and the whole game is built around it, and then it also goes into the burrowing thing, where if you tap the button you jump, and if you hold it you burrow underground, and you can kind of jump out of the hole. That part reminds me of Mail Mole, if anyone has played that on I believe it's on Wii U and Switch, but it's a 3D platformer, and you burrow under the ground and you jump out of it, and it's very similar to this, but a 3D game.
Kind of makes me think of Splatoon as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Splatoon or like the drill game, like Drill Dozer.
Drill
or
Dozer.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's a very smart evolution of Zelda, of those 2D Zelda Game Boy games that I don't think Nintendo would ever make.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
actually kind of exciting in that way, and that It's similar to Shovel Knight in the way that Shovel Knight is not really Mega Man, not really Castlevania. It's kind of an
Right, not really
amalgamation
Zelda
of
2.
those two.
Yeah, it's
And
really its own thing.
and then it also throws in the Pogo from DuckTales.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So it's
yeah.
like it takes a lot of ideas that worked really well in all these disparate games across different genres, really. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
not a lot that's similar between Mega Man, Castlevania, and DuckTales other than the fact they're side-scrollers. And it
Yeah.
combines them into, like, this, like, Voltron of a NES game. And it seems like they're doing that, too. I also heard them mention on the presentation that it takes inspiration from the Gremlins 2 NES game, which I've never played that.
They
but I
were
feel
saying
like I
they
gotta
were
do
looking
it
at
now.
top-down games where you can jump, and that was one of the few ones.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like I could go check that out now.
Yeah, I kind of want to see that now. Gremlins, the new batch.
Because that movie's good.
So this game also has a lot of weirdly Dark Souls and Bloodborne influence.
Yeah.
There's a teensy bit of Dark Souls and Shovel Knight, too, with how you lose your...
Yeah,
the
you lose like
gems
and you can
pick
like
'em back up when you
sacrifice.
die.
But yeah, this game has like they said the open world will kind of like loop around on itself. That kind of sounds like Dark Souls, as well as the currency is also your experience points, like souls.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no world map as well, like in the Dark Souls game. So
Yeah, there's I guess there's
really
a way to like, so your currency is bones, and there's a way to turn it into like, was it like bone like rocks or pebbles
Yeah.
or something, and that makes it like, that's kind of like, okay, now that you've done this, it's permanent. You don't lose this because you kind of like, it's kind of like you deposit it. But if you die when you have regular bones, then you're gonna lose.
I hate it
kind
when
of
I
stuff.
die with
I like
my
that.
regular bones.
Something
Yeah,
I wanted to
that's-
point out too in regards to Shovel Knight is, we talk about Castlevania and Mega Man and Zelda 2 and even Dark Souls Blood being in that game, but something else that game actually has is they mentioned during development that they were inspired by Mario Bros. 3 for the world map of Shovel Knight.
Sure.
And this game now you have Link's Awakening being the big thing here, but Castlevania being a huge thing with some of the different items. They even talked a little bit about how the Amiibo mode in Shovel Knight led to the trinket system in this game. I don't know if any of you guys played the custom Knight Amiibo campaign in Shovel Knight.
I have the 3 like boss amiibos, and they're not even open, so no.
Yeah. So the boss ones don't actually do that.
Okay.
It's just the regular Shovel Knight Amiibo, and pretty much what happens is in Shovel Knight you get different relics, which are your sub weapons, as you play. And what happens in Amiibo mode is that, so usually I want to say there's like 15 in total in the campaign. In Amiibo mode there's like 30, and what happens is you play through the game, and as you play through the game with the Shovel Knight Amiibo, you get experience and you level up. And every time you level up, you get either a new relic, a new color, a new something. And there's all these really wacky, some even extremely broken items that you can get that are like, twists on the standard sub weapon. And they're like all wacky, and there's like a bajillion of them. So by the time you're at the end of this game and your character is like fully leveled up, you just have all these ridiculous, like insane sort of weapons. And in this game, you get what are called trinkets, which are a version of that idea. They're like essentially, instead of being like sub weapons, they're more like companion tools that give you like perks while you're playing. And you can have a certain number of them active at any time, but there's like around 30 of them in this game. One of them that they showed was like, for example, like a spider buddy that when you walk over an open hole, you can like walk over 4 tiles of it on like spider web when you have it equipped.
Also, the spider is very cute.
And the spider is very cute.
Which
Spider.
is not normal. Spiders are
Yeah.
terrible.
So there's a lot of different, like they're kind of like perks / modifiers. I would say more significant than that, but that's kind of a good baseline to describe them. And I was really excited to see those, because as soon as I saw that screen with like all the slots, I'm like, oh man, it's like the custom Knight Amiibo thing.
That's pretty good. it's cool to watch developers like learn and what they bring forward from another game that is nothing like the game that they're currently making. You know, they figured out a way to retrofit that kind of system on top of this cool new idea that they've had.
I like that they're not making, like, they made 4 Shovel Knight campaigns. It's great that they want to, like, do something completely new, but it's still, like, in that same wheelhouse of this is a retro thing that we're modernizing a bit, but, like, showing that we love these old games.
What's kind of funny is actually when they first showed it and I was first watching it, I actually did not pick up on the Game Boy Color thing. My brain was thinking NES, and they're like, oh, Game Boy Color. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I immediately felt Link's Awakening.
The moment I saw it, I was like, oh, that's a Game Boy Zelda game. Holy crap. Oh, look, it's a mouse with a whip.
Yeah.
It's named after somebody I know. No.
Yeah. She's been working on the game for a long time, guys.
One of the things that I'm wondering about it is they mentioned that there are dungeons, I think.
Yes.
Right? But like they didn't really go into the progression of the dungeons at all, if I recall. Didn't. Like I'm wondering if it is going to be Zelda-like, where it's like, oh, you found an item, and now that item is used for puzzle solving in the dungeon, and maybe it'll like let you access another part of the world map that you couldn't access before, because they did say a lot of it'll be open at the very beginning, but probably but not all of it.
I like item dungeons, so it would be nice if they did that. I don't know if they're doing that or not, but it does seem like they're focusing on the core abilities.
I wouldn't be offended by item dungeons in this game. I'm not usually crazy about them, but the way that they worded it, where they said that, you know, it's pretty open in the beginning and you can do a lot of stuff early on, but that certain stuff, you know, is gated, I think lends to kind of a more open version of how Zelda goes, where, you know, a la like Link Between Worlds, where you can kind of pick the order of the dungeons that you're going to.
From like a few tiered,
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping for, is that there's like an element of that where there's a couple of different things that you can do, you know, at any given time. And
it makes replaying it more fun too.
Yeah, and they, speaking of which, they did mention, and this is very true of Shovel Knight as well, that they, towards the end of development, they tend to optimize things a bit for speedrunners, in the sense that, like, they'll try to be mindful of certain things, like if you're going through a room very quickly, the you know, and you don't mess up, the timing of the platforms that you jump between will just so happen to work exactly as you're getting up to them.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. So, and it's little
so
things.
When it works.
Yeah, and it's little things like that I think are really nice, not just for people who are into speedrunning, but also just for the general pace and flow of the game, or people who are just playing through the game, like, you know, again on a repeat playthrough, or who are more familiar with the mechanics, having, you know, being able to style on the games and rooms like that is just fun.
Yeah.
Well, the few times that I've really sat down and like tried to make decent Mario Maker levels, which in my opinion they turned out all right, I did that shit too. It's like, I'm gonna replay this section over and over and over. I'm going to play it bad, I'm going to play it medium, and I'm going to play it at full speed. And I'm going to make sure that when I play it at full speed, the platforms are synced up to the person jumping, so that they don't get screwed.
Right.
I want the person to be able, if they're running at full speed, if they jump, then they're going to land on the platform and be able to keep the sequence going, because that's what feels good about a video game, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. They also showed something kind of like the Estus flasks. Dark Souls people would know this better than me, but there's this element of health that you gain back, but it doesn't become actual gained health until you use this, like, vial of some kind.
Yeah, it's sort of like Bloodborne was sort of kind of like that. You can get back some health when you hit the enemies. So if you got struck by an enemy and you immediately struck them back, you would get a little bit of health back. So this is sort of kind of like that.
That doesn't sound Dark Souls-esque at all, honestly. Yeah, I must have missed that part of the presentation. Well,
they were talking about how they love Bloodborne, so it's probably
I heard them talk about Bloodborne a lot.
It's a great game.
And I'm sitting here like, hell yeah, brother. That's what's up. These people know. That's why you make good games. If you like good games, and you're passionate about game development, you're probably gonna make good games. You know?
Yeah, I am really
It's that easy, guys.
It's
I
not
really-
that easy. I'm saying
Yeah, it's not that easy.
the passion is the hard part there, right? Like you got to be really into what you're doing, and what you're doing is not easy.
They so so after the main presentation was done, they pretty much spent the rest of the hour just playing through the demo and taking some questions and stuff. And in some of that additional gameplay, we saw some more stuff that was kind of touched on in that trailer. And one of my favorite little things was there is some Mario 2 style stuff going on with these statue heads that function as keys, and you pick them up, and when you pick them up, you have this horrible abomination chasing you until you let go of the
Oh, that's funny. I didn't even see that.
of the key. And what was even more funny with that is that, like in Mario 2, where you can throw the key at enemies to kill them, you can throw the head at enemies, and what it does is it bounces off of them and back into your hands, almost like a
that's great.
boomerang. And it just looks so much fun.
I like that a lot. It looks like the game feel is really good in this.
It looks
Yeah.
totally on point. I looked at it and I'm like, I feel like you could put a controller in my hand right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah, I can
and
just
I would just be able to like go.
Yeah, that was the sensation I felt when looking at the Shovel Knight Kickstarter. It was the same sort of feeling of like, I know how this feels. Like I can feel this right now as I'm watching it. Like, it looks, even like visually, without actually knowing what it feels like, because I haven't put my hands on it, like it visually makes sense.
Yeah.
That it feels a way that I want it to feel.
You can tell it feels nice. You can tell it's not like floaty. You can tell like the jumps and the dives look responsive.
Yeah.
And I think you can tell like that from videos a lot of times.
Yeah, and there's also
Especially when it's live gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely that. And something I think is neat that we haven't talked about yet too is they have the Zelda 2 level system in there as well. By the way, I forgot to mention that. I forgot all about that. You level up and it's kind of like attack, defense, and instead of magic, it's like sidearms, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But the main thing I wanted to mention was this game is very much like, it does not want you to have to press pause and change your weapon, or press pause to look at the map.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you're doing the trinket selection, it's in these like little underground burrows. It's kind of like almost like your little hideout, and you change it in there, like through a menu. You don't pause the game and switch between it. And your side weapon, you don't keep your side weapon. You only have one. When you pick up a new one, your other one gets dropped. And I really like that, because something that does slow down the pace of games like Link's Awakening is that aspect of, okay, I have to go into the pause menu, I gotta equip this item, or I gotta change this item, or I gotta assign this item to A and item to B.
I need to jump, so let's put on Rock's Feather.
Yeah.
I need the iron boots in Ocarina of Time. Let's put on my iron boots.
And everything that you need is right there at your fingertips.
And that's especially a problem when you're playing Link's Awakening, the Game Boy version, and not the Switch version, where you have two buttons to work with.
Yeah.
And you're spending loads of time just pause, item change, pause, item change. And you never want to let go of the sword. You always want to have the sword in your hand.
Yeah.
That makes me think they probably won't do item dungeons, because they won't like expect you to have different items.
That's a good point. That's an interesting point.
Something that I like about that is that instead of the side arms, the weapons being like, oh, you need this to do a specific thing. What it is instead is you can kind of pick the ones you like the most and play through them without having to, okay, I guess I have to use, this one now because the dungeon is making me do this thing, that requires it. Now, I'm sure there might be
You don't think
that.
they'll ever... Yeah, I think they would do that with like, the
might
drill or
be.
something. Like, hey, you need the drill for this part or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll have things like that, or where it might be advantageous to do that. But so far, they seem that the sidearms are not navigation-based; they are combat-based, which I like.
Was there like a grapple hook they showed, or no?
There wasn't any grapple hook that I noticed. Really, the main thing is, you always have your whip, I guess, and you can always jump and you can always burrow. And if you burrow and then jump out of the burrow, you will go farther. Like, in terms of your movement, that's kind of that's what it is, and everything else is like extra on top of that. So, yeah, I mean, it looks really cool, and I think the character is cool too. The mouse.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I always like rodent characters, like Redwall and stuff. It's always cool.
So how do you feel about, like, if you were to gauge your hype about this existing versus how you felt when you first found out about Shovel Knight? Because for me, I think this is way more exciting. Because Shovel Knight is a derivative of a game that there's millions of games like that, right? And obviously they're not identical to Shovel Knight, and like we said before, Shovel Knight's an amalgamation of a lot of different members of that genre or whatever, but it's like, you know what you're getting with an 8-bit side-scroller. There's like 3 Game Boy Zelda games.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of games like it. This is actually a fairly unique venture for Yacht Club versus what Shovel Knight was.
Yeah, I agree. There's very few games that are inspired by Game Boy Color, Game Boy Color type design.
Which that excites me, because we're gonna see things that, like, I have a feeling we're gonna see things in this game that, like, you haven't seen before, right? Like, it's not gonna feel very derivative at all. It's gonna feel like fresh and new completely, and I'm really excited for, like, the ideas that they have about what would make a game like Link's Awakening better if it were more open, if you had more movement options. You know, all of these things that they've already talked about. I have a feeling that this game is going to hook me in a way that Shovel Knight didn't, despite how much I like Shovel Knight and respect what it is, you know?
Yeah, I think for me it's kind of equal, because I am such a huge fan of Mega Man and DuckTales and you know, a lot of the mechanics that are in those games, that, and especially at that time, although there were like other ones, there weren't really anything that went as full into it, I think, as Shovel Knight did. So I'm kind of equally as stoked. I am very excited to see where this goes. I'm very excited that they are doing something that's like the top-down Zelda, because that is something that I've wanted a new top-down Zelda for a while. And this looks like a really cool way to do it.
And if there's any company one would trust to, like, put the amount of work and love into it that you would want, that you would ideally want, I feel like there's few companies more qualified for that than Yacht Club.
Yeah, and I think there's so many, like, Link to the Past clones these days, like top-down 16-bit SNES style ones, but this is a lot different. Like, it has the 2D sections from Link's Awakening as well,
right?
Which I always thought were really cute.
Yeah, I mean, it's really that this game is built so much on that mechanic of jumping that was introduced in those, that it's just so,
which was fun in that. Like, Rock's Feather was such a fun item.
Yeah, I love using that.
Yeah, my ideal combination was always to have, like, Rock's Feather and Sword whenever it was, like, pertinent.
Yep. Because you could hop up and you could just jump over enemies and, like, attack
it's fun.
them. You're like, oh, look, it's a bat. Jump over it, smack it.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention real quick, I'm just going through their Kickstarter to see if there was anything kind of neat that we didn't talk about, but they did say that the game, you're primarily controlling the game with the D-pad and the A and B buttons. A is attack, B is the jump/burrow button. So I'm curious how the sidearms are used, and how some of the other stuff happens. They said primarily, so it's not going to be entirely just that, but
ideally shoulder buttons, I would hope.
Yeah, and you know, stuff like that, like vial item or whatever, is probably a separate button. But they show some stuff here on the Kickstarter that they don't, that they actually didn't show even in the demo and in the presentation today. Mostly some of the trinkets and stuff. Like, there's one where if you when you emerge from a burrow, it's called a niter belt. If when you jump out of a burrow, if you have it equipped, it'll cause this radial explosion around you. There's another one that kind of adds the extends your jump time. It's like a little like creature that carries you, so you can jump across like 2 tiles instead of one. And what's really cool about these is that you have a certain number of slots you can stick them in. And it looks like you can probably expand that number as you go through the game, but the combinations are probably really fun.
Yeah, I just opened the Kickstarter, man, and like looking at these gifts. When a
Yeah.
game nails movement, that's it, and it just looks like it nails the movement. The digging looks so smooth and just
Yeah.
so intuitive. Like this
Yep.
first GIF here on the Kickstarter where he like digs under the skeleton dude and comes up behind him and hits him and then
Yep.
digs down to pick up the pot and throw
Yeah.
the pot at the guy.
Yep.
It
Yep.
just I don't know, man. There's something about this game that speaks to me on like a visceral level.
And it's very
need
legible
this
too.
game.
Like the jumping doesn't look like you'll like miss jumps by accident.
No, it doesn't at all. Everything looks very deliberate. Your movement just looks smooth and perfect. I have a feeling this is going to be like the game. I think this might
Yeah.
surpass Shovel Knight once people get this in their hands. And like
Looking at-
Yeah, it
as
might.
like the Yacht Club like definitive experience. This rat
Yeah.
is going to be in every single indie game like Shovel Knight was. He's going to be
Hopefully.
in every indie game. Ukulele too, there's going to be Mina there. 3D.
I'm ready. I'm ready for Mina in a fighting game because that
Yeah.
has so many fun possibilities.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's a great idea.
They show a little bit more about the leveling mechanic on the Kickstarter as well, and it is very much like Zelda 2, where you have the number next to attack, magic, and defense, and so your bones are experience points, and they level you up. So basically, whenever you get to an experience threshold where you are able to level up, you'll be brought to the level up screen, and obviously when you level up in a category, it'll make the price higher for the next time, but you can choose not to level up and to keep your experience points.
Yeah, that's
You know,
kind of
and-
similar to how Dark Souls works.
Yeah, it's very, very much like pretty much exactly how Zelda 2 handles its level up system, which is fun because it is kind of fun to decide if maybe you want to go like glass cannon in a playthrough and just upgrade your attack and don't do anything to your defense, or maybe you want to not level anything up at all. You can just go through. I think it's just a nice layer of choice that will make repeat playthroughs interesting. And I think it lets everybody kind of play the game the way that they want to play it in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, I'm stoked. And like I didn't really know what to expect going into this. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, what if it's Shovel Knight 64 or whatever?" And I was like, "That's a cool idea." Is there any disappointment from either of you about it not being a 3D project? Like,
No.
Shovel
No.
Knight, sure. Whether or not it was Shovel Knight, you take or leave it. But I know a lot of people were kind of thinking about, oh, it'd be cool if they made a Shovel Knight 64. It made it a 3D game. But to me, this is like, this is more what I would have wanted out of them than a
So
3D
I say
platformer.
if it was Shovel Knight and it was just a 16-bit Shovel Knight instead of an 8-bit Shovel Knight, I would have been disappointed by that. A 3D Shovel Knight at least would have been like exciting to me, but I think this is equally as exciting, just of being a brand new thing.
For me, I was hoping going in that they would. I wouldn't have been sad if it was another Shovel Knight, but I was really, really hoping it would be something new because I think they can do a lot with a variety of in a variety of different genres and create a bunch of different worlds and stuff that it's good that they've had as much Shovel Knight content as they have. Obviously, the game is popular, the character is popular, the crossovers have been good. The main game was, very lengthy by the end. But I really, really wanted them to see something entirely new from them, and so I was very happy to see that it was a new character, a new, new IP, a new world.
Well, and
So-
especially when you have those two Shovel Knight spin-offs that are
Yeah.
not developed internally,
Yeah.
at least not
Yeah.
completely, that kind
Yeah.
of spoke to me of like, maybe they're kind of ready to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think just after doing that for so long, right? Like they intended to have that game done, maybe like 2015, like maybe 2014 at the latest with the stretch goals, and that obviously didn't happen. So you end up working on Shovel Knight for so long. I remember even talking to some of them at PAX, and they're like, "Yeah, man, like we've been working on Shovel Knight for like so long. We're kind of ready to, for it
ready
to
to
be
do
done."
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel
Yeah.
it.
As a new dev, you don't want to kind of be stuck in your like, oh, those are the Shovel Knight people. They can only make Shovel Knight. So I think
Yeah.
making your second big game something completely different just kind of shows that you have range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have believed from the beginning that these guys have range, and I really wanted to see more of that expressed. And I'm very pleasantly surprised, and I'm very happy that it's not like, at least for me, like in terms of what I like, I'm very glad it isn't like a turn-based RPG or something like that I would just
Yeah, I like
not
that it's
be
an
able to
action-y
enjoy.
thing still.
Yeah.
I don't think they don't seem like turn-based RPG people to
No.
me.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
way
you know-
forwards games aren't really that either, and they're way
No.
forward
Yeah.
in Loom.
I think one of the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's like they made a lot of different kinds of games, like Shantae, Mighty Switch Force, Mommy Declassified, all those types of
They-
things.
They did Thor DS as well, which is actually really good.
and then they do like a DS, an Alien game on the DS that was
Yep.
quite good too. Like a
Yep.
Xenomorph Alien, like Alien
Yeah.
franchise, Ridley Scott Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't seem like the types that would go into a JRPG style.
Well, actually,
video
didn't
game.
Way Forward make that, what was that giant robot game that everyone was so mad about that it wasn't Wario?
Oh, you mean the Bakugan game?
Yeah.
I mean
that's
there's-
not
there's-
an
there's-
RPG, is it?
There
It is, yeah.
It is,
Isn't
yeah.
it? Oh, word.
It's licensed. It's licensed work. Like that's
Yeah.
like for hire projects. I think that's a little bit different, but
I know,
mean,
but
we
I'm just-
mentioned
yeah.
a lot of licensed work there. To be fair,
Yeah.
with Mummy and Alien.
Yeah.
etc. Yeah, no,
I-
it's really cool to see them flex and like we got more than just this. We've got more than just side scrollers in our wheelhouse, you know.
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, if they choose at some point to do a 3D game, I think they'll be pretty well prepared and will understand what that
Yeah.
what dealing with movement in
Wait,
that space
those-
And
is.
have the budget to make that actually good, because we've seen by
Yeah.
like Ukulele that you need a really good budget to make a 3D platformer like quality
Yeah.
work.
There's so many people. Oh, go ahead.
Are these developers the only ones in the world that like Zelda 2? Because Shovel Knight's got Zelda 2 in it.
Yeah.
This has Zelda 2 in it.
Seems like it.
I don't know
They're
if
all-
you guys ever played the Adventure Time game on the 3DS
Yeah,
called Hey
I did a
Ice
bit.
King.
Yep.
Why'd you steal our garbage? That game
Yep.
is straight up
Yeah.
a Zelda 2 clone,
Yeah,
and it's
is.
actually
That's
pretty.
funny.
It's actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
I've always liked Zelda 2. I've always thought
Same.
that it was a pretty fun deviation on Zelda. I'm glad that it's not the way Zelda went, and I'm glad that it was a one-time experiment and that's not how Zelda ended up. But I think Zelda 2 is a lot more fun than most people give it credit for.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's a lot of fun.
And I don't see its DNA in anything except some older Way Forward games and now Yacht Club's offerings.
Yeah, there's a couple games I think of, like, this is more Ninja Gaiden and kind of Metroidvania, but there's even a little bit of Zelda 2 DNA in The Messenger. Not a lot, mind you, but like a little bit. But beyond like a handful of examples, there aren't many games out there that are really brimming with Zelda 2.
No.
To
Which
be
is a
honest,
shame.
people go to Castlevania and
Yeah.
Mega Man as the like things they compare Shovel Knight to, but I think
Yeah.
the more I think about it, the closer it is to Zelda 2 than Castlevania.
Yeah, it has a lot of Zelda 2 in it, not only just with the downward stab, which is also the pogo stick, but and yeah, now this game has the Zelda 2 leveling system.
More
which is
pogo
fun.
sticks and 2D platformers, dude.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
always an upgrade. The pogo makes Hollow Knight fun. The Pogo makes Tropical Freeze
Cranky
super
Kong.
fun.
Yep.
When I saw that Cranky Kong did the pogo jump on his cane, I was like, these people are geniuses. Like, they took that shit to the Game Awards that year, and everybody laughed at him, and I'm sitting there like, oh my god, they let you play Cranky Kong, and they made it good.
Something real quick here, just in terms of like nailing that feel. They mentioned on their Kickstarter about the soundtrack, and I guess Jake was imagining something kind of like a Game Boy that was like, you know, a bit more, you know, capable in terms of audio, and so the tunes are more MSX and its expansion, I guess the SCC I'm not familiar with, but MSX and its expansion is kind of the idea for the feel of the music in this game, which I think is a really fun choice.
That's a fun choice, but to be honest with you, I'm a big simp for the Game Boy sound font, and
Yeah.
I do kind of wish that maybe he had experimented with that kind of sound, because there are some sounds on the GBA that are just unrivaled in a lot of modern video game music. Like old Pokemon soundtracks are like out of control cool in how they feel.
Yeah.
And so the old the Zelda games too, like there's actually there's a pretty strong sense of foreboding in the dungeon themes and like A Link to the Past and the Oracle games.
Yeah.
But I trust Jake Kaufman implicitly. That dude is like a banger machine. So I'm not too worried about the OST.
They have some samples, and when I say samples, I mean they're actually like look like they're full tracks. There's 2 of them on their Kickstarter. You can probably check out.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely hit that up. They gave this mouse a boomerang that is a dagger. You know, like it is both a knife and a boomerang.
The little ground texture tile that they use for when you go burrow into the underground, it looks like one of the spots that you would use like the shovel in Link's Awakening.
Yeah, and I just have to stress, everyone listening to this should go look at these Kickstarter gifts. The theming is just unparalleled, man.
Like I love the cute little animals playing music.
Yeah, I'm looking at that one right now.
I adore the one where you're outside this dude's farmhouse and the like farmer bird guy is like coming at you with a pitchfork, and there's like a wheat field or like a cornfield or whatever and pumpkins. This game is going to be fucking cool.
Yeah.
It is a damn shame that it looks like its release date is 2 years from now.
Oh, did it say 2024?
It says December 2023, which is not quite 2 years, but
yeah, almost.
It's pretty close.
And if anyone's curious, I just noticed it mentioned it in the Kickstarter as well. They are up to Yacht Club as a staff is up to around 20-ish people now.
That's a lot of people to feed, man.
They started at around 5. So
and we should say this Kickstarter just went up today, and it's already looks like 90% of the way to its goal.
Yeah, and
if you want to use it as a like a pre-order platform, which I think is how a lot of people use Kickstarter, especially on something that is like guaranteed to happen, is this $20.
Yeah.
$20,
and if you
man.
don't
I'm probably
want to,
yeah, I'm probably gonna throw down for at least the $20 and then decide if I want to upgrade it later.
Yeah, I know some of the tiers, we were talking a little bit before this episode, some of the tiers are a little weird. Like, if you want a physical copy of the game, you need to pledge at the 100 tier, and there's some stuff that's, like, in between. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they reshuffled some tiers or switched some stuff around after a teeny bit. So, I mean, you have the full month to back if you want to, and even if you don't want to back, it's obviously going to happen. So, like, there's not really you're not going to really miss out by not doing so.
I might have to rob a bank and get that Mina plush for $250, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Here's the bad news to all of our hyper rich listeners: the $1,000 and the $750 tiers are all sold out as of this recording.
Yeah, that's true. And the 3,000 tier,
and the $3,000 tier. All of those are gone, friends.
Yeah, and that was stuff where you could like put an enemy in, or like be a director for a day, or you know, design stuff. And that did happen with Shovel Knight as well. You know, there are some of the bonus fights that you find in the overworld fights, which are very Mario 3 reminiscent in that game, were characters that were created or included due to the Kickstarter. So.
Yeah, I remember like my the only YouTube Let's Play channel that I ever really liked, the Super Best Friends. They had a character in it. They got the Baz in there. Dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Baz is in there.
That's crazy.
Now, if I remember correctly, is the Baz also in Dive Kick?
The Baz is also in Dive Kick. Yes.
Okay, that's where I knew the character from.
I have maybe I'm a little weird about this, but I actually kind of find those like pay money to like help work on the game tiers to be kind of weird.
Yeah, I do
too. I think they're really strange.
But I mean, I guess if people are into that, they're into that, you know. Mm-hmm. And the way I look at it is, it's probably people with more money than time that want to like have a hand in a creative process that they wouldn't be able to otherwise. So I don't necessarily think it's exploitative or anything. But
no, I don't think it's exploitative.
I find it a little strange as a consumer of video game products.
Yeah.
I feel like as a creative, I would be worried that like just like the wildest person would like get that tier and like they would just make like unreasonable demands.
Well, I mean, surely they have veto power. They're not gonna.
I mean, they have veto
power. I'm sure, but I just like meaning like just dealing with some people.
They're not gonna let someone show up and be like, "I want to put my big titty Fox OC in this game." They're gonna be like, "No, dog," and I just no.
I know, and it's also like a very limited number of people that they accept for those tiers. Like I think the director for a day is limited to 7 people. The $3,000 was limited to 3. So
yeah.
But yeah.
Last thing I wanted to mention that the Aaron from Game Grumps was also here.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he really likes Shovel
Knight. There for the demo. Yeah.
You know what? I will say this. I remember they did the little commercial for the Shovel Knight amiibo. He obviously really likes the game and the studio and is friends with them, and I think that's cool.
Yeah. If he wants to use his platform to promote games like this, I don't have any issue with that at all.
I like Aaron. I think Aaron's cool.
I'm mixed on Game Grumps as a concept, and I always have been, but Aaron seems like a relatively decent human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the most part. Barring anything he's done that I don't know about.
Yeah, I'm not going to pitchfork outside their offices.
So
I mean, he fired JonTron, so he's got to have something going for him, right?
I mean, I feel like, you can't not fire JonTron.
He got rid of JonTron before JonTron even went nuclear. So
the things John would say on like the amount of times they would have to censor him is ridiculous.
There's some stuff in that Sonic 06 playthrough. Whoa, boy, you could just tell how uncomfortable they are. Man.
See, I always just found him really annoying, so I didn't really think anything.
I used to think those awesome videos were very funny as a child.
Oh yeah, Metal Gear Awesome is hilarious.
Yeah.
I always
a lot of people like that.
Oh man, that takes me back. It's
but
funny.
I'm one of those people who like doesn't like most like gaming YouTubers or like gaming personalities. I mostly just find them annoying.
Yeah. All right. So
says the host of a video game.
Yes, exactly.
An internet video game podcast.
Exactly.
We're gonna bring this one to a close, though. We've had a lot of fun. I thought this would be like a 20-minute episode. I was wrong.
I had more to say than I expected. When somebody suggested we cover this for this week's episode, I was like, man, okay, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. It's better than like picking anything off of our list. You know, it saves the list. It preserves the list.
Yeah. We have a master ideas list, guys.
Yeah, with some more fun and games for the weeks where there's no news.
Yeah, but this actually ended up surprising me a lot,
and it's very Nintendo relevant because all of these games are either on or coming to the Nintendo Switch platform.
Yeah, and also we spent a huge amount of time on Serial and could have just had that as its own episode, but we decided to give everyone a treat.
If you want to have a Serial episode, I can throw it down. I have some.
I really don't.
I've got some. List.
I've got some breakfast takes, dude. That new Pokemon cereal, actually really good.
I didn't even know there was a Pokemon cereal.
Yeah, I have the Pokemon Oreos. They taste a lot like regular Oreos, but they have Pikachu on them.
I have the Mario Odyssey Amiibo box cereal.
What you don't know is that's not regular Oreo cream in there. That's Gudra stuff.
I thought you were gonna say that was like Pikachu's like intestines or something.
No, I wasn't gonna go that dark.
They put Pika in every cookie. All right.
All
Well,
right,
on
thank
that note,
you. The closing statements are: thank you for listening to the Nintendo Pipeline podcast. It's been an exciting second year of the podcast so far, and more great episodes to come. If you want to hear more episodes, you can find them on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, etc., and YouTube. Give us your subscribes, your likes, your comments, your all those 5-star reviews.
hate mail, everything.
Find Clay on Twitter and send him pictures of just bowls full of cereal with milk.
And just bowls full of milk.
Targeted Twitter harassment, endorsed
dude.
Twitter harassment.
Milk.
There is that blog we have too that's kind of like undead. I call it undead because like occasionally something gets posted
we
there.
can figure out some way to revive that blog, I bet.
Yeah, I always like want to, but like.
And then don't. Yeah, I know.
Well,
You and
no,
everyone else.
I just don't have time to write articles.
Yeah, I feel you.
I like that it's a place where people can find the Discord, though, which you should
Yes.
also join if you're not in for some reason.
Yep.
We also have a thread on Family Boards.
Yep, which I should probably update because I have not updated it in a bit. But
It's a fun,
also
it's a
buried
fun
right
Discord
now, so.
to be in.
And sometimes we get like the nicest comments in like the Discord and like the Family Boards chat. So I just wanted to like thank anyone who's like listened to this, because
Yeah.
like some of those comments I'm like, oh my god, people actually listen to this and like it. That's insane.
My best friend, who's also named James, listens, and he's been on here once before, listens to us every week.
Oh, that's kind of
shout outs
crazy.
to you.
Yeah,
And
so-
shout outs to Tolu as well, because I know Tolu listens.
I hope
very
I do
often.
I do your
Yeah.
namesake justice, brother.
Tolu's like our biggest fan. Thank you, Tolu.
Well, we decided, James, that you're fake James. So sorry,
What?
you're the discount. You're the second James.
God damn it. I always knew I was Big Lots James. Fucking store brand.
All right, so thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you for the February Nintendo Direct.
Let's hope.
Have a great
Peace.
night, Pipeline Nation.
God.